welcome to this meeting of the Employment Committee. I'm Councillor Anna Kelly, and this is Councillor Gloria Johnson, who is the Vice Chairman, and to my right is the Democratic Services Officer, Joshua Mann. Welcome to all committee members, officers and councillors. Please can you check that your mobile phone is switched off and turned into silent mode? One or the other. I've not been notified of a fire alarm practice, but should the alarm sound, can you please move swiftly to the closest exit and make your way outside to the front of this building on the green, just outside here at St. Peter's Hill. Today, if you wish to ask a question or make a comment, please can I request that you indicate by raising your hand. This meeting will be recorded and can also be watched as a live stream or later via the SKDC webcast. Now for our agenda. The first item on our agenda today is any apologies for absence. Josh, any?
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies from Councillor Harish Bisnath Singh, substituted by Councillor Max Sawyer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And do we have any disclosures of interest today? Members are asked to disclose any interests in matters for consideration at this meeting. No, it appears, Josh, we have no disclosures. Thank you. Now can we turn to the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of September? Does anyone have any comments on the accuracy of these minutes? If you are happy, can I request a proposer and a seconder so that we can vote on both the private and the public minutes? Ian, are you offering? Thank you very much. The acceptance of the minutes is proposed by Councillor Ian Stokes, seconded by Councillor Susan Sandall. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you very much. Abstentions? Thank you. Did you get those, Josh? Against? Okay, lovely. Let's move on. I'm glad we're getting through nice and easy because we've got an awful lot to do today. Item 4 on our agenda is the pay policy statement for 2026-27. This is an item on which we will need to vote to recommend this statement to the full council if we feel that we agree with it. And so, would you like to carry on, Leader of the Council, Councillor Ashley Baxter? Did you want to introduce this item? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Committee. This report represents the pay policy statement for 26-27. It is a requirement of the Localism Act 2011 that we produce an annual pay policy statement which must be approved by full council before the end of March and must be published on our website. There's no fundamental change from the 25-26 statement. It is a statement of fact and it meets the statutory requirements placed upon us. The key changes include the updating of the posts included under the definition of officers covered by the pay policy statement, and changes in the statutory national minimum wage and national living wage rates. The pay policy statement includes information relating to the Council's policy for the remuneration of its chief officers, its lowest paid employees, and the relationship between those. Additionally, it provides details of chief officers' pay and sets out the policy for determining pay, including that of apprentices. The pay policy statement also includes the Council's paying policy on allowances, pension scheme contribution rates, termination payments, re-engagement of employees, and gender pay reporting. I welcome any questions.
Thank you very much, Councillor Baxter. Are there any questions regarding this? Thank you. Councillor
Sorry,
Sawyer.
I'm just having a problem accessing the backup documents. I've got a message about security, which I think I mentioned to Josh in an earlier meeting. I don't know if Josh can offer me some help with this.
Do you have some spare papers? Thank you. Right, lovely. So Do you already have a pre-formed question, or will you need to access those documents before you can come with your question? All right. I can say to you as chairman of this committee that one of the most significant things that we have to be aware of is in this pay policy statement, it is a significant percentage that SKDC pays towards the pension of its members, and that is usually something people are not so aware of, and clearly that affects our budget requirements as we move towards thinking about a budget for the coming year. So I would say that is 24 point something percent. Leader, did you want to speak?
Thank you. I just want to draw people's attention to paragraph 9.2 on apprentices in the actual pack. It says April 26, and then there's a column that says the wage is not known at this time, not known at the time of report publication. I don't think it's known yet, but I'll probably be put right. So those figures will be put in either when it goes to full council or when we know what the national minimum wage is.
Thank you. Chief Executive, can you advise us as to when that might be?
Well, we might know early next year, which is normal, after the budget on the 26th of November. There's normally a statement there by the government around what those rates will be, but as we sit here today, it's unknown. We will not know by council either. So that amendment always goes in once that information is being shared.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions with regard to the pay policy statement? Do you think you may have something specific, Councillor Sawyer?
Now, Chairman, probably not.
Okay, that's lovely. So, what we need to do is to recommend this to full council, which will be on the 20th of November. So, could I have a proposer to vote that we accept the recommendation of the pay policy statement for 2026-27? Thank you, Councillor Baxter. You're proposing. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Baker, thank you. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Moving on to item 5 on the agenda, it's the gender pay gap. For this item, the committee is asked to note the report. I believe there's not a necessity to have a vote on this, is that correct? No need for a vote, but interesting reading. Thank you very much. Would you like to introduce this again, Councillor Baxter?
I would love to. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Most of us are well aware of the Equality Act 2010, having been on the Diversity Equality training. Under the Gender Pay Gap Information Regulations, which are attached to that Act, we have a legal requirement to produce a gender pay gap report because we are an employer with over 250 employees. This is the 9th gender pay gap report, and it's important to note that gender pay gap reporting is not about men and women being paid differently for the same job. That would be illegal, but about the differences between the overall average pay for men and the overall average pay for women within the same organisation. Employers within both the public and the private sectors have got to do this annually, and they have to produce their gender pay gap within 12 months of a specified snapshot date within each year. For us, that snapshot date is the 31st of March 2025, which was the last day of the last civic year. So at that point, the genders mean, now when we go into these figures, it's like a lesson in arithmetic or mathematics and statistics, mathematics and statistics, and it's also a kind of balancing in your head what is meant by a negative measure, which for me isn't. So at the 31st of March, the Council's mean gender pay gap remained at a negative measure of minus 4.93%. with the mean hourly rate of pay being higher for women, £17.66, than for men, £16.83. When considered against the previous year, which was minus 4.83, this represents a slight move away from the ideal position of 0%. At the 31st of March 2025, the Council's median gender pay gap was minus 4.08%, with the median hourly rate of pay being higher for women, £16.81, than men, £16.15. When considered against the previous year's figure, 0.8, although it represents a small movement by the figure decreasing, it means another small move away from what some would consider the ideal position of 0, equal pay for men and women. To get to the 0, you would need, on average, the same number of women and the same number of men in the same number of posts at the same grade as each other, which is in an organisation this side, it's going to be difficult. A negative pay gap means that on average women at the council are paid slightly more than men. This isn't uncommon, but it runs counter to the national trend and the historic trend. This could be due to the council employing a high proportion of men in the lowest hourly pay quarter. Or I would add it could be slightly attributable to the number of women that we have at the higher levels of the organisation, who are all brilliant, and so are the men. That's it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Baxter. If anyone's confused, I'll be happy to go there. Councillor Baker, did you wish to say something? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think the part of this report that I enjoy the best is slide 6 in the appendix, where you get to see the trend over a number of years. And we started off as an organisation with a 20% median difference in 2017. And the fact that that line has continued to come down shows a concerted effort over a number of years, over a number of people in the top chairs. And I think that shows a commitment organisationally to addressing this issue, to making sure that women and men are paid fairly for the work that they do. There's obviously always wrinkles with how means and medians work. At university, I had a statistics professor who was fond of saying that statistics are like bikinis, what they hide is essential. So there will always be interrogation that you can do into this data. But I think if we take the time over a number of years, we take that time from 2017 and see the trend, that shows the organisational attitude and approach to fair pay for all of our employees. So thank you very much for all the work that's gone into this, not just the report, but the work that's gone into that fair pay over years.
Thank you very much, Councillor Baker. Does anyone else wish to speak? No, thank you. Before we move on, can I just say thank you to Sam Fitt, our HR officer, and to Leah Foster, another one of our HR officers, who provided the reports on the gender pay gap and on the pay policy statement for this year. Thank you very much, both of you. And now, as we don't need to vote, we are now moving on to the Employee Engagement Survey results of 2025. The results of the survey are for noting, and the trend of these you'll see is in a very positive direction. I'm sure this will be explained to us very nicely. Leader, did you wish to speak first, or are we going straight? Yes. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much, Councillor Baxter.
Thank you for covering the gap that I left. Obviously, I am grateful to all the officers, male and female, that put these reports together, and to all the staff. This report is to present the Employee Engagement Survey results following the 2025 survey. The survey was available from 7th of July to the 31st of July this year, and it was available to all staff, and because it was online and in paper form, whichever method employees chose, it was anonymous. So you cannot pinpoint any particular employee in this, it's anonymous. Employees were asked to rate statements on a scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree, and also to provide comments in the free text boxes to provide feedback on areas including teamwork, line management, working environment, innovation, well-being, engagement and trust, leadership, change management, communication, learning and development, reward and recognition. 539 out of a possible 620 employees completed the survey, and that included casual workers. This resulted in an astonishing 87% response rate, which is an increase on last year's phenomenal participation rate, which was meeting, I think, your challenge, Chair, of 85% response rate. The response rate in 2002, for comparison, was 42%. So response rates have more than doubled in percentage terms in the last 3 years. So we're going through the presentation. I'd be happy for either Karen or one of the officers to do this, or I'll be happy to do it myself. I don't mind which.
Would one of our HR officers like to volunteer for this now? Thank you very much, Sam.
Good morning, councillors. So yes, as the leader said, I'm just going to go through the survey results now. These are very kind of high-level results, so if you do have any questions, please let me know. So starting with the response rate, as the leader said, we managed to beat last year's target of 85%. So this year we received 87%, and you can see there on the right-hand side of the screen, kind of a year-on-year increase in percentage rate. 87% across the kind of board of other organisations is a great score to get response-wise, and it gives us a real good picture of how our staff are feeling. So it was great to see that increase again. What did I do? I think it's the clicker. Are we all good? Yeah, okay, that's better. When we break down the response rates into the team areas, we can see there quite a large number of them actually achieved a 100% response rate, which is good to see. Again, it means we can get that picture from the department about how they're feeling. Every department got at least 70% of a response rate, which is really good. There's a lot of hard work going into there to kind of push those numbers up. And there was a very small number who preferred not to say what team they were from, because that is an option on every question. But obviously when we go down into the department levels, we can kind of address and see how that happened. If we look from last year, our bottom 3 departments in terms of response rates were housing, benefits and markets, and we've seen a huge increase there. So housing last year had a 73% response rate. They're now sitting at 94%. Benefits were at 67% last year. They're now at 100%. And markets were probably our lowest last year at 29%. They're now sitting at 70%. So we're getting much more of a feel about what those departments are thinking. The engagement index has also gone up. So this is based on a calculation of 6 key questions, which I'll go into on the next slide. But it kind of averages out a score across the organisation. Last year it was 72, and this year it's gone up by 3 to 75. So not only are more people completing the survey, but those that are completing it are more engaged. And as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen again, it's a year-on-year increase, and it's increasing steadily now, which is good to see. These are the 6 questions that form that engagement index score. So we've got, I would recommend working for SKDC, proud to be working for SKDC, happy with your current job, finding the work interesting, making good use of my talents and skills, and morale in general. And you can see across the board they're all increasing this year compared to last year. There's still some work to do around the morale question, but if you look at the graphs at the bottom, what you'll actually notice is only 14% said that morale isn't good. 66% said it is good, and then 20% had no view either way. So there's only 14% that say morale isn't good, and obviously when we drill down into the departments, we'll be able to find out if there's any hotspots there that we can work on that. The engagement index broken down per team. So you can see there's a slight kind of trend as it goes up. CMT and human resources are at the top, which is probably the best place for us to be. And then, as you can see, everyone else is sort of in the high 70s, high to mid 70s. We do have some dipping into the 60s, which is where we would need to do some work to kind of get their engagement up more, and prefer not to say is lowest, which isn't uncommon and is probably part of the pattern that we'll see. If you don't want to say what department you're in, you're probably not going to have that engagement, so we'll be able to filter those out when we get to the team levels. And again, we've got our bottom three last year were waste, ICT and finance, and they're now either increasing or kind of stayed where they're at. The departments with the larger workforces, such as waste, you will probably have slightly lower engagement levels because there's just more people, more opinions, more views, that kind of thing. When we break down the engagement index per gender, we can see that kind of male and females are there roughly about the same with a score of 74 and 78. Females are slightly more engaged. Those that identify differently at the council are our most engaged part of the workforce. It is a very small number that identify differently, but of that small number, they've got a score of 88. And then again, those that prefer not to say what their gender is are the lower end of the engagement score, but that goes hand in hand with choosing that option. And then when splitting it on length of service and age, as you can see there, in the light blue is 2025 and the orange is 2024. So in terms of length of service, we're seeing steady increases across the board there, a slight dip in those that have been here slightly longer, at the 30 to 40 years, but not by much. So at least we can see some work to be done there. And then age, again, for the majority across the board, it's increasing. There is a significant improvement in the kind of 41 to 55 age range, which again is all good to see. It's all going in the right direction. We also ask questions around wellbeing to obtain a wellbeing index across the council. So these are based off these 4 questions. Again, that's improved from last year, so that's gone up by 5 points. And again, we're seeing that people are able to achieve that good work-life balance and that their workload is manageable. And we're seeing some big increases there compared to I'll just stand like this, yeah. It's going to be really... I think hopefully I should be all right if I sit like this. Can you still hear me okay? Yeah. So then in terms of wellbeing events as well, we've asked the questions on whether people engaged with our wellbeing activities or not. So we've had 58% said no and 40%... Do you want to do my clicking for me? I'm just going to move everything electrical away from me. So less than half of the organisation is actually attending wellbeing events, but our wellbeing index still went up. So they know what's happening, they know what we're trying to do. It's just trying to get to them where there's an issue, which is reflected in what they answered on the right-hand side. The majority of the reason why they couldn't go is timing and availability conflicts, and kind of having that lack of awareness of it. So we need to be pushing them more. We need to be making sure that it's flexible for everybody to attend, particularly those in part-time jobs, those manual workers, those kind of things, to make sure that everyone has the opportunity. So they can see it, they can see it's there, they just can't always get to it. So that's where we need to do some work. And then these are just some summary comments around wellbeing. So the majority of staff, there's a good variety and range of offerings that we provide. They find them valuable and it improves their morale. They feel more connected to colleagues throughout the activities. They're mixing with other departments. But we have that inconsistency on how time off is granted for them, and we need to make it more accessible and inclusive across the board, which reflects, I think, the majority of the people not being able to attend them. So I'm going to go into the kind of themes of the questions now that we've asked. So the first one is teamwork. Here across the board we've seen big increases or very kind of minor drops, particularly around a feel valued member of my team. It's still a very good score at 84%. It's just a slight decrease from last year. But on the whole, those are really positive things to see from teamwork. We'd like to do a little bit more work with different departments working together to see that go up next time. Leadership, so on this one, across all questions, big increases, particularly around senior leadership being confident that they've led SKDC well during the past year. That's a massive jump of 11%, which is great to see, and the council introducing change effectively. Again, that's always going to be on the lower end of the percentage scores, so to see it nearly at 60% is really good. It shows that there's been a lot of work in the past year to pull that score up. No, we're good. I think I'm going to go back one, I think. No, sorry, forward, you're right, it's me. Thank you. Yeah, working environment. So there's been a couple of drops here. We know why those drops have been. We've had a little bit of aircon wars in the office this summer. Now been rectified, now been sorted, so next year that score should be much better. But yes, office temperatures has been a hot topic, pardon the pun, of discussion this past year. Line manager, this is where we probably see the kind of more on this staying the same as last year or decreasing a little bit. So the only one that's kind of increased here is having regular one-to-ones, which is really good to see. We should be at 100% there, really. Every person should be having a one-to-one with their line manager. But what it seems to be coming across is more and more one-to-ones are happening, but maybe the right things being discussed in those one-to-ones aren't happening. So there's some training to do there with managers. We're also going to look at rewording the one-to-one question because, for example, in waste or street scene, they have what's called a toolbox talk rather than it being called a one-to-one. So they are being spoken with their manager, they're just not having it called a one-to-one. So we'll probably look at rewording that to make sure that they understand that that encompasses that as well. Development and progression, again, they've gone up. We believe that there's more opportunity for their career to develop at SKDC has gone up, reaching that 60% now, and being offered some training and development over the last 12 months has gone up to 73%. We'd probably like to see that a little bit higher because we do run bite-sized sessions across the board and everybody is offered it. So it's just communication to the workforce around training isn't just going on a course and sitting in a room that's been paid for. The sessions that we put on, the bite-sized sessions, all those kind of development things are part of it as well. So we'll work on that. Innovation, going up again, all in the right direction. So people believe that if they make a suggestion for improvement, that's gone up, and also how managers deal with that has gone up. So a little bit more work to do, but in the right direction. Hybrid working, so on this one, the second question, I believe that our approach to hybrid working works well for me personally, is our first question where nobody disagreed. So 80% said that it is working well for them and 20% had no view either way. The departments such as waste and street scene and repairs where working from home isn't an option have been taken out of this question, so they're not included in those percentages. So yeah, they're going in the right direction. And then these kind of miscellaneous questions, the one that is probably slightly a concern for HR is the drop in I've not been bullied or harassed at work. 85% is still a really good score to have for an organisation, but it's not as good as last year's. So we need to understand why that drop's happened. So we'll be able to, when we do the department breakdowns, kind of find out where that has happened and do some work around that to make sure that next year is back up to that higher level. Then at the free text box at the end of the survey, we had 1,041 comments from everybody that completed the survey. 47% of those were really positive, 45% were those kind of neutral, yeah, everything's okay as it is kind of thing, and only 8% of them were negative. So out of the 1,041 comments, only 83 were in any kind of negative way about the council. And the kind of 5 themes that came from the survey where we'll kind of develop our work plan for the next year and where we need to focus with departments is around communication and collaboration, making sure that those departments are talking to each other, employee wellbeing and support, as I've mentioned, making sure that everybody has access to the great range of things that we've got on offer. Pay recognition and resource, I think, will always come out in a survey. People will always say that they don't think they're paid fairly for the job that they're doing, but we are doing some benchmarking, and we're also making sure that everybody has the equipment that they need to do their job. Training, development and progression. Again, we've got a great training plan that we're developing, and we are making sure that we're running bite-sized sessions to make sure people have got the skills that they need and also to develop further. And then office environment and facilities, we knew that this one would come up, and it's a theme that we're taking on board, and we're going to make sure that people do feel safe and happy when they're at work, so that'll be an ongoing thing. That's it. I'm happy to take any questions.
Sam, first, thank you for all of that. Thank you for your report. It's very extensive, very thorough. And as some would consider me an obtuse person, all those who prefer not to say, I celebrate the fact that we have people who don't toe the line, have individual imagination, and yeah, I'd probably be one of those people. So I don't think we need to worry, and I don't think we need to see that as a negative. I think giving somebody a choice that they prefer not to say, or they choose not to say, is fantastic, and it says, you know, this is an all-inclusive space. You don't have to be exactly like everybody else. We're not looking for a homogenous group. We're just looking for a happy, harmonious and hard-working group. So, you know, there's lots of things to be celebrated. I was particularly happy with the page on leadership in all that data. And again, it's a tribute to those who do lead the staff here at SK. Now, I know Councillor Baxter's got a question to ask, and after I've had Councillor Baxter, then I'll come to the rest of you. Gloria will tell me who comes next. Thank you, Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Sam, for doing that. I'm just as well I didn't do the presentation, or I'd be asking myself a question. I wanted to reiterate what you've just said about the senior leadership. It comes down from the top, and I mean, all the results are positive. It's almost, if I saw Coca-Cola presenting this information and I didn't know the truth of the arithmetic and the facts within it, I'd think, oh, well, that's must have been made up. But it's not. This is really the organisation. And considering the imminent threat or the imminent opportunity of local government reorganisation, to have everybody saying that they'll be pleased to still be working here in 12 months' time, that's great. That's really good news. The two questions I had were leisure. You had figures on leisure. Does that include staff of Leisure SK?
It doesn't, no. It's just out on our establishment list.
So I guess it's a question elsewhere for Leisure SK to see whether or not they do the same for their own staff, full-time and casual. And the second was to draw people's attention to the hybrid working. That might be some of the questions that you've got, but it's quite topical at the moment with people talking about working from home and working in Lincoln, how it works here. I'm sure that Karen has, I think you need your directors in at least 4 days a week, and other staff do have to visit the building. I don't know if you want to say any more about that.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, the hybrid process that we have is all staff that have the ability to work from home are required in the office as a minimum of 2 days a week, but that's dependent on business demands. So if they're required to be in more than 2 days a week, that is what is expected. Heads of service and above are on 3 and 4 days a week. We do a full 24-hour cover 7 days a week on Gold Command, and we have at least 3 senior managers in on a Friday. So we have good coverage. And clearly, people are happy with that as an approach. There's clarity about what's expected. We do monitor members of staff that through their logins, so we are very clear about who's coming into the office. People log in every day into the buildings, so the HR team do run a report for corporate management team to see who's been coming in, who's not been coming in. If people then aren't attending as a minimum level, then there's a further discussion with that member of staff.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sawyer, you had a question.
Thank you, Chairman. It's not a question. I'd just like to thank Sam for his professional approach to a PowerPoint presentation, namely commenting on the slides rather than reading them out. So well done, Sam. Thank you.
I recognise that as a teacher's pet hate. Thank you. Councillor Sandel, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question is from page 51. I have not been bullied or harassed at work during the last 12 months. That's gone down by 2%. I know it's quite a high figure, but it's a worrying thing. I just wondered if they'd tried to identify if it's a specific area or is it general, so that something can be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did you want to comment on that, Sam? Thank you.
So the HR team is currently in the process of breaking these down into department areas so we can identify where that kind of issue is lying, and then we will be discussing with the managers and the team and bringing work plans for departments together to find out where that is. So we've pretty much done almost all of the departments now. There's still a few others, and then we'll analyse them all, find out if that drop is just for one department, and then we can address that with them.
Are you happy with that response, Councillor Sander? Yes.
Yeah, can I just add into that? It is an interesting question, and yes, it is disappointing that it's gone down. However, everybody in this chamber has a role to play in this as well, because, you know, this may not be bullying and harassment from officer to officer. There may be some issues to do with member to officer, and that's something that we'll certainly try and pull out. And yeah, we just need to be really clear, but all members in this chamber that sit in this chamber, or 54 at the present time, also have a role to play in this as well.
A well-timely reminder, thank you. Paul. Which Paul? Councillor Stokes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, whatever questions we're asking really are quite picky, I think, because these outcomes are absolutely fantastic, aren't they? So I just have four actually, small ones. How do we account for long-term sick? Are they, if somebody's off long-term sick and they don't include them in the figures, is that reduced in terms of the number of people we count in the percentage against? That was one. Shall I do four? Yeah?
I'm happy with that, thank you, yes.
I've got three more. Okay.
Yeah, so we do actually send a paper copy of the employee survey out in the post to people that are on maternity leave, long-term sick and things like that. But yes, so they are, that 620 figure is everybody on our establishment. So yeah, that 87% might include people that are on long-term sick, maternity, etc. as well.
Continue, thank you, Councillor.
So potentially the figures are slightly better, because I would imagine if I'm off sick, I'm not likely to fill it in. It's not possible, isn't it? So all I was thinking was how much are we penalising ourselves?
For yourself, Chairman, but we do work closely with those individuals that are on long-term sick. You know, there is touch-based sessions. It's like when people are on maternity leave, you know, we do keep in touch with our teams when they're not attending. We don't just leave them. You know, we're a caring employer, and we want to keep in touch and ensure that we're doing everything we can to support. You know, we've had some staff off this year that have had some very critical illnesses, and you know, we've worked very closely with them. So, and I know some have responded if they felt well enough to do that.
Thank you.
In terms of the markets, is there any crossover with street scene? Because I cannot understand why that figure would only be 70% against a quite small number, and I know some of them do two jobs. Is there likely to be a crossover there?
So they would have received a paper copy for both areas, and then they choose which department they put, so they would have probably filled one out for street scene and one out for markets as well, should they have chosen to. Obviously we don't know, with it being anonymous, if those people that have or haven't.
So potentially they filled one in for street scene but not market, so that would show as a miss, wouldn't it? Slightly misunderstanding why the arts can't get a bit more than 70, but I'm more than aware that the Chief Exec will be, and the results overall are fantastic, aren't they? And I know it's just got that margin of improvement that we'll constantly be looking to gain. Then I did have a final point. On the bullying thing, it's actually over 50 people if you look at it in terms of percentage. I suppose the interpretation of bullying is tricky, isn't it? Because some people will view you haven't quite done this right as extreme bullying, when actually I would have thought it's quite reasonable to point that out to somebody. It's just the way it's pointed out. So I see that as an incredibly difficult one to highlight, and I'm sure the people must have genuinely put that, but it's tricky, isn't it? And I take Karen's point about
I think it is very tricky, and I wonder if there's a direct line, and Sam will perhaps have the answer for this. If somebody does feel that they're bullied, is there a direct way they can take it to somebody? And are they doing it? Are they logging it throughout the year, or is this only coming out in a survey? Thank you.
So obviously there's the grievance process, there's all the HR policies and things they can go to report to us. If it's not to do with their manager, there's the manager process there as well and everything. Obviously I'm not going to go into specific cases and things, but when we have those that come throughout the year in HR, we do deal with them and address them. Obviously we would like to make sure that it's not in a survey where people feel that they have to make that kind of statement. So we continue to put communication out there on how they can, if they're feeling bullied, where they can go and what the avenues are. But yeah, just a quick point on the bullying question as well. Although it says 85% there have not been bullied, on the graphs below it's 8% that say that they feel they have been. So there is 7% that are sitting on the fence. So just to kind of, I don't know how you don't know if you are or not, but
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Councillor Stokes?
No, it's just that everything I've asked is quite picky, isn't it? But, I mean, they are fantastic results, so I'm not trying to deride that at all.
Thank you. Councillor Knight, you wanted to speak.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick question. On the, for example, arts, markets and housing technical services have all got the lowest response rate on the survey, but they've all got higher engagement indexes for their teams, whereas for the vast majority of teams their engagement index is lower than the survey, presumably because the survey counts towards the engagement index. So it just suggests to me, say the arts team, for example, 70% response rate but a 76% engagement index. That means that about 1 in 10 people that are engaging are not filling in the survey. So it just seems to me to be quite low-hanging fruit in terms of getting those survey figures up for next year.
Thank you. Did you wish to comment, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. It's work that we know and it's been highlighted in the survey, and it's stuff that we'll make sure that we're doing throughout the year to make sure that we capture those people and make sure that not only is the response rate up, but that we get the true reflection of their engagement from those that haven't filled it out. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Stokes, you wish to speak.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I thought you'd ignored me because I put my hand up even first.
Excuse me, Councillor Stokes, I'm saving the best till last.
You started that end. I'm not surprised at one of them. The morale at SKD is generally good. I am surprised it's increased, as it has, to 66%, because in a couple of years SKDC will be no more, and I would have thought the morale amongst the staff would have diminished slightly, but I'm very pleased to see that has increased, because it means that the staff are looking forward to the future, which I hope it will be. Another point on that. The screen showed the colours, the dark green on the paper. You can't see the black on the dark green, whereas on the light green we could see it on the slides. So I would point that out for future reference. I think it would be helpful. I may be colourblind on green, but I don't think I am.
Thank you. I think they're both really valuable comments, and I know the Chief Executive wants to speak, so I'll give her first opportunity and then perhaps others after.
Thank you, Chairman. So just to come back to Councillor Stokes' point about morale being good, I'm extremely pleased that it's gone up in quite difficult circumstances and an area time of change that we're going through. And I'm taking heart from the fact that we are doing a lot of engagement sessions. You know, staff are having annual appraisals, they're raising concerns, they're raising when they feel that they need training. Training is being offered, training, it's engaged training, it's small bite-sized training to get people ready for that change process, because there's no point just sitting on your laurels thinking this is not going to happen. Regular engagement sessions are happening with all members of staff, so out with the direct works team, with the refuse team, here in the chamber with the staff office-based team. So we are trying to take staff on that journey with us of change, and there's nothing worse than a period of change and being kept in the dark, isn't it? It's been referred to as mushroom management in the past, hasn't it? You know, but we are being very transparent about what is happening, when it's happening, how it's happening, and some of the proposals going forward. So we have all staff engagement sessions once a month. We have an all staff email every week. So we are trying to keep people informed about the change that is happening, so people own their own journeys, and they're keeping positive about working for us.
Councillor Baker, thank you.
I'm not the best to last. I'm the unfortunate postscript. I really am cheered by one of the early stats on the presentation, because staff don't respond to surveys they see as pointless. 87% of staff engaging with this, almost 9 out of 10, see that South Kesteven District Council listen to their employees, regardless of what level that they are at. They see a point in filling in this survey, because they know that their views will be heard, looked into, actioned. And I think it's an example of culture eating strategy for breakfast. Don't get me wrong, I think our strategies are good, they're well debated, they're firm. But if you don't have a culture, if you don't have values in your staff that align with what you're trying to do, the best written document in the world becomes just a paperweight. I think it's also incredible to see people making lifelong careers at SKDC. We're seeing staff who are here for 20, 30, 40 years. And I'd love to know the impact on staff turnover on these stats, because I know anecdotally staff turnover here is actually in a very good place. All organisations have a small amount of churn, but I think it would be a really helpful secondary metric to publish alongside this report to show that this is reflected in a staff turnover of X%. Just a thought perhaps for next year. Thank you.
I think that will come in the dashboard, but I will defer to Sam, who will probably have a better answer than me.
That's something we can definitely include in next year's as a metric, as a slide on here, just to compare engagement levels with staff turnover. That's something we can do.
Okay, if that's the committee finished, I just wanted to say, was there any comment that Councillor Harrison wanted to make? Thank you very much for being here. If there are no more comments, I believe that we can move on to the next agenda item, as that one was just for noting. The next item that we go to is agenda item 7, Human Resources Policy and Handbook Review. Now, when it comes to these items, the committee is recommended to approve the revised employee handbook, approve the HR policies for adoption and surrogacy, shared parental leave policy, and approve the delegation of authority for minor amendments to HR policies and the employee handbook, for the HR policies and the employee handbook, to the Chief Executive in consultation with the portfolio holder for HR. So there are lots of things you need to consider as we go through this, and I believe the report is going to be introduced by Councillor Ashley Baxter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair, for outlining the recommendations. I must start with an apology, and it relates to the approval of delegation for minor amendments to the employee handbook. As I've been browsing through it, I've spotted what I hope will be seen as a minor amendment, and on the page that relates to elected members, I have to apologise that Councillor Paul Stokes, of all people, has been left off the cabinet. There is no... ill will or anything else. There's no hidden agenda, and we will get that put right before it goes anywhere else.
It's already in process, Councillor Baxter. The HR team are on it. I hope it is. The employee handbook is there to see and there to read, and it's I think it's a work in progress, and we have a lot of HR policies. The two that are exciting today or important today are the adoption and surrogacy policy, because we understand that adopting a child or having a baby through surrogacy should be a significant and joyful experience, and we want to add to that joy. So we recognise and value the diversity of our workforce and different family structures and different needs of employees. Consequently, the adoption and surrogacy policy aims to support employees through this journey by setting out their entitlements to adoption leave, pay and time off to attend appointments relating to the adoption and the surrogacy. The second policy today is the shared parental leave policy, which gives parents flexibility to share the care of their child in the first year. Eligible parents will be able to share a maximum of 50 weeks parental leave and 37 weeks of statutory shared parental pay for the purpose of caring for a child in the first year of a child's life or in the year after the child is placed for adoption. The shared parental leave policy aims to support employees by setting out entitlements to shared parental leave and shared parental pay. So hopefully it's straightforward, hopefully you've read the documents, hopefully it's uncontroversial, but I welcome comments. Councillor Baker, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. A small, just quality of life improvement that has been made that I really appreciate is embedding links to the HR hub rather than trying to put the full text of every policy into one document. That has been an approach, a necessary approach in the past in organisations of this size, but it does make that handbook a very foreboding and dense document to get through. So seeing that this really is being put in with user friendliness in mind, I think is another one of those signals that says we expect people to use this, we expect people to turn to this. This is a document that we know you're going to use, we want you to be able to use it. Very open, very transparent, and it's good practice. I really applaud that one and thank the team for making what seems like a small change, but it makes a massive difference.
Thank you very much, Councillor Baker. Are there any other people who wish to comment? Councillor Sawyer.
Thank you, Chairman. May I comment on the long service gifts? Would this be an appropriate time?
It's not quite the subject we're on at the moment, but I'm sure we can spend a few moments on that. Thank you.
Yes, I'm not going to throw the toys out of the pram if this suggestion is rejected, but how about £10 for each year? So instead of the figures given, 100, 200, 300.
Can you just put us on the page you're reading from, please?
Sorry, it's your benefits. I can't see a page number for it. Oh, someone's found a page number. I'm just wondering why not go for £100 increments? It would hardly break us, but as I say, I'm not going to burst into tears if it's turned down.
I'll leave that if anyone else wants to comment on it. Can I just say, I'll remind you of this one day. Chief Executive, thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. That's all right. Thank you, Councillor. Sorry. Thank you, Chairman. It's something that we can look into and look at the additional costs, but we introduced the long service awards pretty recently, and of course it's only for service at South Kesteven as well. So my 41 years, I don't get anything here. I won't even get the 10 years because I won't be here for 10 years. As we talk about the change process, I won't be here for 10 years. So this is just for service actually at South Kesteven. But we can take that away, and if members wanted it on their work programme, we can always bring something back.
Thank you. Did anyone else wish to comment? Can I just ask a question, please, of HR? It's one that I probably should have picked up in the document, but I didn't. When we're looking at maternity leave for adoption or paternity leave for any leave for adoption, is there any consideration of the age of the child at the time of the adoption, or is it a blanket policy that applies whether the child is 7 weeks or 10 years old?
It would just be a blanket policy, yeah, for whatever the age of the child.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there any further comments on that? And then we need to go back to the recommendations as they're set. Chief Executive, thank you.
Just thinking from what you've just said there about adoption and surrogacy. So is that something you want us to further look at? Because something's just jumped into my mind. If the adoption was a 3-month-old child, the needs of that child, which should be the primary aspect, be quite maybe different to somebody who's maybe 3, 4, 5 in school age. So is there anything else that you would like us to take away to look at? And we're quite happy to. If you're quite happy to approve what we have today, and then we'll further review any issues to do with age, we can come back.
Yeah, it was just crossing my mind that if a child was 7 and, say, in school, that there might be something around working hours and block holiday time, and I couldn't remember seeing it in there when I read it, but I just thought we need to cover all options. Councillor Baxter, do you want to comment?
Thank you. If I remember rightly from the corporate parenting training and involvement at county, it's far more likely that a child in infancy is adopted than a child in the teenage years. And also, as children get older, they're more likely to have been in and out of care and to have been fostered beforehand. I applaud anyone that has tried, and also if they have succeeded in becoming an adoptive parent. It's a massive commitment. I would want to do anything we could to encourage people to adopt children at all ages, but I believe that people are a lot less likely to adopt children as they approach their teenage years and through the teenage years. So at the moment I haven't got an issue with it, but if we've got evidence that shows that we can do anything to support adoptive parents in any other way, regardless of the age of a child, then I'd go for it.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. Any further comments? The suggestion from the Chief Executive was that we accept the policy as it stands and we look at whether there needs to be a necessary modification dependent upon the age of the child. Is that something that everybody is comfortable with? So you're happy to propose that we accept the policy as it is, with a further review of the adoption of older children who will be in a school setting, of an age for a school setting. You know, they will be school children. Is that what you're saying, Councillor Baxter?
I think what
are you proposing?
I think I'm proposing the words that are on the paper, but I am sure that
we can
relevant people in the room note the comments about adoption, and that we'll take that into consideration.
Okay.
As the document is reiterated next time round. I don't think we need to say anything specific about it here other than to note the comments which have been made. Okay,
and that has been seconded by Councillor Baker. Can I just put that, if we've had a proposer and a seconder, then we need to go to a vote for that one. Would we like to do that vote now, and then we'll pick up the other ones that we need to do? So in terms of this policy, we accept the policy recommendation as it stands. We have had it proposed, we've had it seconded. Could I have all those who are in favour please raise their hands? Thank you very much. That's unanimous, Josh. Right, let's go back to those original recommendations that are on page 55 of your reports. So, first of all, Are we happy at this point to recommend that we approve the revised employees handbook with the slight additions, which one is to include Councillor Paul Stokes in the list of the Cabinet members and his role, and any just minor adjustments that might need to be made? I suggested I would like each page to carry the date that it is effective from, so that if you do have hard copies of this, that you can always know that which is the relevant hard copy that you're with. So I'm looking for the committee to recommend the approval of the revised employee handbook. Could I have a proposer, please? Max. Councillor Sawyer, thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gareth Knight. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. The second recommendation then is approving the HR policies. We have already approved the adoption and surrogacy policy, and it's the shared parental leave policy. They're almost integral to one another, but just to clarify that we are covering both of these, can I have a proposal that we accept the second recommendation? Thank you very much, Councillor Baxter, for proposing. Thank you very much, Councillor Sandal, for seconding. All those in favour of this approval, recommending this approval, thank you very much. And moving on to item 3 on the list of recommendations, approving the delegation of authority for minor amendments to HR policies and the employee handbook to the Chief Executive in consultation with the portfolio holder for HR. Proposed by Councillor Baxter, seconded by Councillor Sawyer. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. That was unanimous again, so we don't need to go further. Right, that's agenda item 7, and I thank everybody for their comments so far and the usefulness of them. We're going to move on now to item 8, which is the HR dashboard, which you may have received in a separate item if you have a hard copy. This report is going to be introduced by Councillor Baxter, and this is again just for noting, so it's just to take on board all that it contains. Thank you very much, Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. Very brief from me. The report provides the HR metrics, or measurements as they used to be called, for the half year from April to September 2025. The report and this presentation provides an update against the 6 themes of the People Strategy 25 to 28, which are, as I'm sure you all know, workforce planning, reward and recognition, employee experience, equality, diversity and inclusion, and belonging, learning and development, and well-being. Would you like me to go through this presentation, or is anybody else keen? Jane, I'm very happy for Jane to go through it.
Are you happy to do that, Jane? Thank you for your report. Thank you. On we go.
This would help if I put my microphone on. This is the first HR dashboard since the new People Strategy for 2025 to 2028 was introduced, and we'll cover each of the themes that Councillor Baxter has just mentioned. It is working. So you can see on this slide we've got each of those themes and how they link into the values of Team SK. I think I have to click it about 4 times before it moves. So this just shows the details of the workforce as at the 30th of September for the half year. You can see the breakdown as the male and female workforce in terms of actual numbers and full-time and part-time. You see that a high proportion of our employees, 80%, are full-time. Also provides information on starters and leavers, and excuse me, if it would be helpful for future presentations, then we could actually provide that as a turnover figure based on the comments that have been made in terms of the employee survey. From the graphs at the bottom, you'll see that starters and leavers have been fairly consistent over the years. For this half year, the numbers are...
Can we just stop for a moment, please? Councillor Sandal. Right, I'll just check that. Did you want to speak on that, Jane?
The first ones, male and female, they're totally different. There was an amendment circulated, so you should have had the updated figures, so apologies. I don't know if Josh can help on that.
So are these the last definitive ones that are on this screen at this point? Are these the amended figures for this, Jane?
I think Councillor Baker wanted to say something.
Sorry, Councillor Baker.
I was really bringing a point of information on that. According to the agenda supplement that was on Modern Gov, these figures do match. As such, they are the published figures and they are the most recent and the ones that we should move forward. I think this supersedes some of the copies that have come out.
Okay, and I think most of you will also have, when we get to them, some slightly different figures on the whole. I'm glad you were watching it. Thank you, Councillor Sandal, for bringing it to our attention. Are we ready to go on?
Yeah. So if I could just give an explanation as to why the figures that were originally sent out, they hadn't been updated from the figures from the last dashboard presentation, which was for a full year, which is why they were a lot higher than the ones you're looking at now, which is for the half-year period. So I don't know if you wanted to go through each slide in turn and then ask questions at the end, or ask questions as we go through.
How do you feel? Does anybody have a preference? Yeah. Right. I think it's a pertinent point. Thank you very much. Would you like to continue, Jane?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this slide shows the reasons for the range of reasons that people have left the council. We do offer exit interviews to all people that leave, and we use that feedback to make any changes and improvements that may be needed. Also provides information on the headcount and length of service, so which is always interesting to look at.
For this, Jane, we do have different figures again that were given to the committee. So it's something that they'll need to reabsorb and rethink about. Thank you.
Can I just clarify, the document that you've got in your pack, I thought there was just one page that was different, not many pages. If there's a number of pages that are different, is that what you're saying?
Sorry, Chairman, if I can just jump in. So the document that is on ModGov Online at the minute, and those slides are the updated figures. If you've got a paper copy that's been sent out when it was initially published, then those are the incorrect figures. So it's the ModGov electronic copy and this copy that are correct.
Okay, so can I suggest, if members are not up to speed with this one, do you want to just take 10 minutes for members just to read these documents that they've got up to date, either on mod.gov or one in front of them, and then come back to the presentation? Or are you happy for Jane to take you through the presentation and confirm the figures?
So, can we propose that either we dismiss the figures that were given when the posted copies went out last week, and we accept that these figures here are the up-to-date figures, and we move forward with this, or would members like to have 10 minutes break where we look at these before we come back into the meeting again and go forward? Councillor Stokes, what would you like to say?
Well, if we're going to have a 10-minute break, we ought to be issued with the correct figures in paper form in that time. I'm sure that can be arranged.
I'm sure we'd be able to do that if you would like a hard copy of the same, rather than have it on your machine. Councillor Baxter.
Thanks. First of all, apologies to the committee for the confusion. I'd rather work with the accurate figures, which I would hope would be the most recent figures. I think you're quite right, Ian. We should be able to get somebody downstairs to print what I've got printed off in front of me. I've been working on. I've got someone to do this for me, so I've got the right figures in front of me. Perhaps, Chair, could I suggest that you bring forward the work programme item and go through the work programme item and see if anything's arrived by the time you finish that.
I'm happy to do that. Is that a proposal that you're making, Councillor Baxter, that we move to the work item and then we come back to this afterwards? How many people would can I just have a show of hands of who would appreciate a comfort break until 20 past so that they can actually have these figures brought to them and have time to look at them before we come back to the item? Well, so I think if we do the work programme now, if everybody is in agreement, and then we have a short break until 20 past 11 following that, so that we can have time for everybody to acquaint themselves with the new figures. And Josh, are you able to make sure that the new copies are made for them? That's lovely. Thank you very much. Right, do I need a proposer?
Sorry. I disagree. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just can't see it's that difficult to read them off there.
Come and sit here.
Right. Can't you see?
No.
Right, okay.
Sorry, Paul. No,
that's fine if you can't see it from there.
I can't see them from here.
I'll turn it round.
I'll second the proposal Councillor Baxter's made.
Right, that we do the work programme now. We then break
for 10 minutes.
For only until 20 past 11, when we come back.
We'll go through to about 20 past 11, I would imagine.
I don't think.
For a couple of minutes. If we're already eating into that 20 past 11, perhaps calling it 10 minutes might be.
As long as it is only 10 minutes. I will concede on that. Okay. So I propose that we do the work programme and follow that with a short break so that we can all be furnished with the up-to-date figures. I had a proposer, and that was Councillor Baxter, a seconder, Councillor Johnson. All those in favour that we proceed in this way? Thank you. Cheers. Agreed. Right. Can we move to the work programme, please? Oh, apologies. Against. Sorry, there are 2 against. And how many abstaining? None. Lovely. Thank you. The vote is carried that we do the work programme followed by a 10-minute break. Thank you very much. Apologies, Max. Oh, right. The work programme. The work programme is at the back of your pack. As you can see, many of the items were listed for today, and in the future there is the Chief Executive's annual appraisal that need to be done in March, Local government reorganisation issues will come up. We have a volunteer policy that is going to come forward. These will all be in 2026. Director's appraisal. One item we still have that is lying in this work programme is discussion of the practicality of the provision of employee health insurance. Now, this is an item that was looked at a long time ago, but one member did suggest it went on the work programme. It's been informally suggested to me by many people that this is something we've visited and it's not something we need to spend more time on. We are coming up for LGR, and is it practical at this time to look at the provision for an employee health insurance policy? Is there anyone that would like to propose that we really do this, or would anyone like to propose that this is not an issue that we wish to discuss at this time? Thank you. Councillor Garrett.
I'm happy to propose the latter, Madam Chairman.
Could you say that again for me?
I'm happy to propose the latter, that we don't ever discuss this ever again. Thank you.
So we've had a proposal that we don't continue with looking at an employee health insurance policy from Councillor Knight, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Could I have raised hands for those who support this proposition that we do not continue with looking at a health insurance programme? Thank you very much. Those who are against?
I would have liked to have spoken before you took the vote on that. But
My apologies, I didn't see that you wanted to. I'm quite happy to accept now, if you would.
my concern is that if you do look at this, all the employees are going to have, if it's paid by the council, are going to have a benefit in kind and going to have to pay tax on the contributions, and they would have to be known about that before they joined into it.
Thank you for that. That is worthy of knowing. Is there anybody who, sorry, I've done those who would support the proposal that we don't go there. Have we done those who are against the proposal? No. Have we got abstentions? Two abstentions for that. My apologies for making that such a mixed up thing. But it looks like we are moving forward with the proposal that we remove the employee health insurance idea from the work programme. So it is now officially removed from the work programme. Thank you very much. Is there anything that anyone else feels needs to be added to this programme at this time? Councillor Baxter.
Not added, I don't think, but I noticed that Chief Executive Appraisal appears to be on twice. If we talk about it in March, I don't think we need to talk about it until later. I do recall that there was a conversation about the way the Chief Executive's pay is done. I don't know if that's a separate item to Chief Executive Appraisal.
One is personal and one is remuneration, so I think they are different, but I'm sure the Chief Executive will.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, so the Chief Executive appraisal on page 102 needs to be removed because it's on the 25th of March. That's where my appraisal gets presented, the findings of my annual appraisal gets presented to this committee. And the committee afterwards, of course, after my appraisal, then I do the director's appraisals. There was a decision taken last year about the pay banding for mine because it's a spot point salary, and it was suggested that that should be reviewed. So that's a separate report which I'm sure could be also presented to the Marchers Committee from the HR team and Councillor Baxter to help and support discussions at that meeting.
Can I just have clarification? Is the second item on there, should that actually be the Chief Executive's targets, or does that come with your appraisal? Do they come at the same time? They do. Okay, thank you. Is is there a member of the committee that would like to propose that we add to the programme the Chief Executive's remuneration? Thank you very much, Councillor Baxter. Is there anyone who'd like to second that? Councillor Stokes. That we add the Chief Executive's remuneration to our work programme for March?
Yeah, yes, and it's, I don't know if remuneration is the correct word. I think it's possibly remuneration brackets banding or remuneration. I'm sure that Josh will write down the correct words that I mean. Okay. If we put something on about Chief Executive's remuneration, before you know it, the Grantham Journal will be saying that she's overpaid again, and I'm not having that.
Right, okay. Remuneration in brackets banding. Right, thank you very much. We've had a proposer, we've had a seconder. All those in favour of this item going to the work programme for March? Thank you very much. That's unanimous, Joshua. Your hand was up, Max? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything else that needs to be added to this work programme that anyone is aware of at this time? No? Right, thank you very much. Obviously, as time goes by, we learn more about LGR, and then we know what things will come to the fore. Thank you very much for that. That is the work programme agenda item completed. Can I suggest we have a short break now? And have we got anything else to do? We've got the HR dashboard only to do, so I think, could everybody be back at 11:30, please? And we continue with the meeting. Thank you very much. Ready? We are going to deal with the item from the meeting today, which is about the Human Resources Dashboard, which has been introduced by Councillor Ashley Baxter, and Jane Jenkins, our Senior HR Officer, is now going to go through the figures with us so that we can all have the same set of figures and be sure that we're all talking about the same thing. Thank you very much.
With this, we'll start from the slide that we were looking at before the break. So, as I mentioned, this shows the breakdown of the workforce between male and female and full-time and part-time. And as I mentioned, 80% of our workforce are currently full-time. Also gives the details of the number of starters in the 6 months, new starters, and the number of leavers. And that number of leavers is slightly lower than compared to previous years, but not anything that causes us any concern. And from the graphs below, you can see that is fairly consistent. The next slide shows the range of reasons that people leave the council, where they provide that information to us from exit interviews that are carried out, and those exit interviews are offered to everybody who leaves the council. Not everybody chooses to take them up, but it's always useful to get some feedback on the way things might be done differently in the future, and you know, the positives and sometimes negatives that they have experienced. So it's also details of the headcount by service time, and we've also spoken earlier in the meeting about length of service, and that leads on to the reward and recognition theme, which, as you can see, we've had 21 long service awards ranging from the 10, 20, 30 and 40 years. So some really long-serving, valued members of staff that work for the council. So we had the awards evening in June, and that was really well attended and really well received by staff, and something that will continue next year. We had the pay award, which was paid to staff at the earliest possibility in August, and in accordance with the national agreement. On a monthly basis, we have all hands calls, and before those meetings take place, we ask employees to nominate their colleagues and give thank yous. And as you can see from there, we have a really good number of nominations showing appreciation for colleagues. Excuse me, Sam has already gone through the engagement survey in details. So that comes under the employee experience theme of the people strategy. And also we were the winners in the Excellent in Employee Engagement, which shows our commitment to our employees and making sure that they do get a great experience. And I think that is borne out by some of the findings in the survey about morale and culture in the organisation. So we continue to provide information on the diversity of the organisation. We collect that for all new starters, and we send out regular reminders to staff where we don't hold that information for them to update that so that we have got a picture, the most accurate picture we can have of the diversity of the organisation. Gender pay gap also comes under here, and Leela's presented that report, or sorry, the leader presented that report to you earlier. We continue to provide information on activities that demonstrate our focus on being an inclusive place to work. And as you'll see from the information on the slide there, we run menopause cafes, we have a carers network, and celebrate various different diversity initiatives throughout the year. There's a continuing focus on learning and development. We've got a good large number of apprentices across the workforce, and hold regular network meetings to make sure that they're all included and getting the support that they need. We've made sure that staff and managers are upskilled regularly through the provision of bite-sized sessions, and we're currently delivering those on absence management and recruitment. And as you see from the box there that talks about training, a large number of our employees do attend events. Again, something that came out in the survey. And you know, we've got a healthy training budget that allows us to provide good development opportunities for staff. Okay, so moving on to the wellbeing. The sickness, there's been a slight increase in overall sickness compared to the same period last year, and that sickness, 44% of all that sickness is short-term and 56% is long-term, which is probably higher short-term level than we normally experience, but there was a significant rise in short-term sickness in September, and that was mainly related to back and neck issues and gastroenteritis, stomach bug that seemed to be going around and caused the spike in short-term sickness in that month. So the information on these slides, you will have been given a different paper copy, because unfortunately when they get reduced down to fit onto a slide, some of the narrative disappears. So you should have all been given a sheet with 2 slides on the front with the long-term absence and 2 on the back with short-term. Has anybody not got that information and would like a copy? You've got them. Okay. So mental health and other musculoskeletal continue to be the top 10 reasons for long-term absence in the council, but that is also reflected nationally in the reasons for sickness absence, and not surprisingly, infections, colds and flu and stomach and digestion related absences continue to be the most prevalent for short-term absence. So as part of our attendance management processes, we monitor and chase up outstanding return to work interviews to make sure that these are all completed. And since publication of this, we now have 100% of return to work interviews completed. One of the team is very hot on this and chasing managers regularly to make sure that this has been done, because it's valuable and supportive to staff. We also continue to support employee wellbeing through the provision of our employee assistance programme, which provides both emotional support, financial support, and also the extensive network of mental health first aiders that we have across the organisation. This really does not want to work for me. I've clicked it about 6 times and it is not moving. Thank you, Josh. So, I'm not sure if that was the next slide, actually. It was, okay. So I think I'd covered that, so if you could move on to the one after that. So, yes, so in terms of this aspect of the HR work that we do, the HR team continue to support managers with employee relations cases, and we've recently trained a new cohort of investigators where we need to do that, and we'll also be providing bite-sized sessions on the disciplinary training to make sure that all our managers are up to date on the policy and procedures that they need to follow in the sort of relatively small number of cases that they need to deal with those. So, would you move? Thank you, Josh. So in terms of our future focus, so some of you may be aware that the Employment Rights Bill is currently going through. We're expecting that to become law within the coming weeks, and once that is, we'll be able to plan our work for the following year. But there's just a list there of some of the things that may be included in there. So you see sexual harassment mandatory training requirement there. We're ahead of the game with that, and we are rolling that out to our manual workforce in face-to-face sessions and for the rest of our staff through online learning as well. So that is one of the key pieces that will have been covered. I think their flexible working being treated as a default from day one. I think we already offer that as well. So I don't think there's anything too concerning that's coming up in the Employment Rights Bill, but we will, at a future date, once the Employment Rights Bill has been passed, bring a report to the committee to let them know the impact that it's going to have on the council and the work that we need to do to make sure that we're compliant with that. So we continue regular policy updates, so bringing in new policies where we need to and updating them on a regular basis to make sure they're current and fit for purpose. Already mentioned LGR, obviously that's quite a hot topic at the moment, and the team will continue to work closely with Karen to make sure staff are fully up to speed and we do any work that's needed associated with that. So that was everything in the presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much for that, Jane. That was very thorough and got a lot of information in it. If we do have any questions or comments, that would be useful. Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Chairman. A few points arising from the front sheet that precedes this presentation. The first couple from paragraph 2.8, well-being. it refers to a slight increase, but the increase is actually 17%. I'd like to see the word slight deleted. I don't think a 17% increase is a slight increase. Third paragraph, that's a 20% increase from 2023 to 2025. Do we have the figures available for 2024? That's that one. If you can bear with me a moment, Chairman, while I scroll to my next one, which is, I'll try to highlight them and put them all together. What accounts for the median pay gap increase? It was 0.8% in 2024. It is minus 4.08% now. And I think in any organisation with a large number of employees, the median is a much better measure than the mean for these figures. So it's a question about that one, the change from 0.8 to 4.08. Also, I noticed the FTE equivalent days lost is a 45% increase from that graph compared to last year. And the last one is, I suppose, as you was rightly said, it's a national phenomenon, but the large number of long-term absences that are down to mental health matters, far in excess of any of the others. So I'd welcome any comments on any of these points.
Thank you very much, Max. I think it would be best if we took them one at a time, because I'm just having trouble following the pages that you're on. So can you tell me the first page that you're taking the data from, that you'd like the question answered about?
It's page 6, paragraph 2. Shall I leave this on, Chairman?
That's lovely, please.
Yeah. Paragraph 2.8 on page 6.
Yes.
It's the first. It's the first and third paragraphs of that section.
Right, and your question regarding those?
Well, the first one is 17% to me is not a slight increase. It's a significant increase. And the third paragraph, 20% increase. Do we have the figures for 2024? What's given there are the figures for 2025 and 2023. So 2024, I think, would be a useful comparison, right, to indicate a trend, perhaps.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to speak to Councillor Baxter. Did you wish to speak on this, Councillor Baxter?
Sorry. Oh.
Yes, thank you for the question. I think 17% being a slight increase. Again, it's pushing the word slight a bit. Happy to delete, and your comment is noted. The figures for 2024, I'm sure we've got them. Would it be acceptable to provide them after the meeting?
Can I just come back on the, because it's a CIPD Health and Wellbeing at Work report, and I don't know if they actually produced one for 2024. Sam and Jane would be able to, because this is our figures, but they're being benchmarked against the CIPD Health and have we got one for 24? I've not seen one for 24. I don't think they do it annually. I mean, it might be every other year or something like that, but we can check. But I've not seen one for 24. We protect our figures, but that's a national report.
Will that be okay to supply that information?
That's fine, Chairman. Yes. Thank you, Karen.
Could you move to the next
one? The second
one?
one, I think, was the five-fold increase in the median pay gap compared to 2024.
Page 16, I understand.
Okay, so the five-fold increase in what?
Gap. The median. 0.8% in 2024, and it's now 4.08.
Madam Chairman, we covered that when we dealt with the gender payback report earlier in today's agenda, why there was a difference between the 4.8 and the 4.93, and the increase, not in just pay, in the increase of more senior females in the organisation. Is that what you're requesting? Because that's what that data has been picked up from that previous report on today's agenda.
If there's an increase at a senior level, it won't have much effect on the median. It will affect the mean, but the median would be essentially unaffected if there are a few increases at the higher level. As I say, the median is useful because it does identify the midpoint.
Chair.
Sorry, would you like Jane to be able to speak first, Councillor Baxter, and then yourself? Right, Councillor Baxter first then, please. Thank you.
To repeat the Chief Executive, we discussed the gender pay gap, the changes in it, and all the methodology behind it in the earlier agenda item. I'm happy for Jane to explain it further, but we do seem to be going back over old ground.
Jane, did you wish to make your comment first?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yes, we did have a discussion about the reason for this difference from last year, and you'll have noted from the slide in the HR dashboard that we've got a higher percentage of male employees, and a lot of those male employees are our lower paid staff that work for the waste and recycling, and from what we could determine, that would be the explanation for that change.
Thank you again, Chairman. If I could just illustrate my point, I don't have to flog it to death, with a reductio ad absurdum approach. If there are 3 employees, one earns 10,000 a year, one 20,000, one 30,000, the median is 20, and the mean is also 20. If the one on 30,000 suddenly earns £300,000 a year, huge change in the mean, but the median remains the same, being the one in the middle. That's just the point I was making. My next one is the FTE equivalent days lost, 45% increase. I find that a little concerning.
Are we talking about for September?
The lower graph, and it shows, yes, the FTE equivalent days lost April to September 2024 compared with 2025, and that's a 45% increase.
Thank you very much. Jane, did you want to speak on this?
Yes, thank you. I think it was highlighted in the dashboard that there was and in the report that there was a significant increase in September, and that was down to short-term absence. So we are aware of that, and we work closely with managers to make sure that short-term absence is managed in accordance with the policies and procedures. But there's very little we can do when there are those kind of bugs going around.
And the last one, Chairman, it's just the, as was said, I suppose it's a reflection of a national trend, the huge increase in, well, the absolute figure, mental health issues resulting in long-term absences.
I think that's very much a national trend.
It is,
yes. And we're all affected here at SK in the same way. That is. Did you want anybody to comment on that from the HR?
Probably not, Chairman.
Okay.
As you say quite rightly, it's a national trend, and I think we're stuck with it for whatever reason.
Yeah. And
Chairman, can I just come in here just to say we try and do everything we can to get employees back to work. We've got an employment assistant policy, we've got mental health trainers, we work with our officers when they're not in work to try and help and support. We offer phased return to work, so we do everything we possibly can. You see what we've been doing on wellbeing to make sure people, the culture's right, the wellbeing's right, to stop as much. You know, the trouble is we haven't got the statistics around prevention, have we? Prevention of stress and things like that, but the statistics are following the national pattern, but we are doing everything we can to minimise and mitigate any further increase.
And I think the fact that the HR team received the award it did this year is recognition of how hard SK has strived to improve working conditions for the people who are here at SKDC. Is there anyone else who wanted to raise anything else? Oh, sorry, Gareth. Councillor Knight, please.
Thanks. I was going to ask a couple of questions, but I'll rephrase them as observations in the hope that some magic response comes out, because I realise how short a time we are. On mental health, I know that we've had some very sort of robust and thorough conversations on this in Employment Committee before. I do think there is potentially some grounds there for looking at this again. I know it feels like we look at this every meeting, but I do think that there's always a question mark over people's heads when they see figures jump up over an issue which I think a lot of us struggle to define well. So I think that's probably the reason why it comes up. It's really good to see length of service. As a councillor who deals with a ward that has relatively little casework with houses that were largely built in the 70s and 80s, I get quite a lot of questions that come up where I basically almost need to find the person in the council who has worked there the longest to be able to answer the question rather than the area of expertise they have. So I think that is a positive thing. The disciplinary figures on one of the pages, on page 22, where we have 12 fact-finding investigations and all that. I'm astonished how low those figures are. I would have thought that, as a percentage of the overall workforce, that's almost statistically zero, because you're looking at such low figures. So it might be interesting to look possibly exploring that maybe at a future meeting. And the other thing was just an observation on the Employment Rights Act. I think that this could end up long-term having much more of a significant impact than I think we believe, because when we're looking at figures that are overall so good for HR, the slightest little problem can therefore look exceptionally bad. So, for example, if there's suddenly an uptick in the number of people that seem to be taking advantage of some of the rights that are coming in, we would notice that potentially more than if our HR figures were not so good, because a percentage, am I making sense? The percentage change could end up looking exceptionally bad because our figures are already so good. So they're just 4 observations, but yeah, I realise we've run out of time.
Thank you very much. I think they were useful observations. I know that one of the reasons our disciplinary figures are low is because there's a policy of early intervention and trying to sort things out very quickly before they go bad. So that's only to be commended, I think. And yes, I think the new rights bill is going to make an interesting difference as we move forward. Is there anyone who would like to make a further comment about Councillor Knight's observations? I see, Chief Executive.
If I can just come back very quickly. Thank you, Chairman, for the comment around prevention around disciplinaries. I think it's fair to say there's robust conversations that happened. I think when you get into the disciplinary procedure, you know, things have significantly failed, and we try to keep them out of the disciplinary procedure and make sure that there are the robust conversations and redirection as and when required. In reference to the long-term full-time equivalence days lost due to sickness, like I just said, we do extremely a lot, but these have been signed off by professionals, and of course it's hard for us to then bring these people back into the workplace if they are actually signed off sick by a medical professional. But we try to do everything we can to get somebody to return to work, and it's really important that that return to work is in the first month, first 6 weeks, and don't let this go on. And the team do an exceedingly, and the managers do an exceedingly important piece of work there with staff that we know are suffering with stress-related situations. Hope that helps.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the HR dashboard. This item was just for noting, and that's all I'm going to say about that. The committee was due to meet in January, but as items that require attention at this time have all been dealt with, the January meeting has been cancelled, which in one way is a disappointment, because it would have been a wonderful opportunity to welcome back Fran, who will be back with us on January the 19th from her maternity leave, but very significant at this time as well. Jane Jenkinson, our senior HR officer, has been here for 26 years, and in January she will retire. So this is the last time that we will see Jane sitting here in the chamber performing this role. She's supported this committee for quite a few of the last years, and thank you, Jane, for your service, support and dedication. And thank you for being so approachable, so that when I've got daft questions or even deeply interesting questions, I'm always met with a can-do, what do you need, how can I help you attitude. And that has been really appreciated. Thank you very much. Leader.
Yeah, thank you. Can I echo your comments about Jane? I can't face both of you at once, so I'll have to speak to you, Chair. Yes. Well, I've been here for just over 10 years. I'm due for a award of 50 quid or whatever Max is prepared to offer me. But obviously 26 years of anybody's life is admirable, and so I apologise, Jane, for the times when I've been a nuisance, both before the revolution and after, and I apologise on behalf of any council colleagues that have been a nuisance at any point also. But just thanks for your dedication, and the figures that are up here, down to Karen and her entire team, but also down to HR, chasing the figures, chasing the policies, and this is almost the nice bit of working in HR, because there are a lot of very difficult conversations that take place with difficult conversations and difficult people, and sometimes both together. So I thank you for your perseverance and for your time at SKDC.
And on that happy note, I'm sure, Jane, you're looking forward to your retirement, and I'm sure we're going to miss you very much. On that happy note, at 12:03, I close the meeting. And